back. You're watching News Centre. We caught up with the EU Commissioner for Budget and Administration, Johannes Hahn, who was in New Delhi to meet the RBI Governor and the Finance Minister. Why? This visit was aimed at promoting EU bonds, which are critical for the economic growth and recovery of the European Union. We also spoke to him about the possibility of signing a trade deal with India anytime soon. He said trade deals are always complicated, but definitely the negotiations will gain momentum after the India-EU summit in February next year. Listen in to that conversation.
The core purpose of this visit is in particular to promote the so-called EU bonds, a new product we have since around 3 years in order to finance the recovery and resilience of the European economy, to strengthen the European single market. And this is something where we are looking also for investors from outside Europe. We cannot complain about the interest for Eurobonds. Usually if there is a syndication, we have an oversubscription of 10 to 12 times. But we would like to see more investors also from India, because it should be in their interest to invest in Europe, because the Indian economy is benefiting from that.
So what can the RBI and the Finance Ministry of India do when it comes to greater interest in investing in EU bonds? What is the kind of support that you're looking out for?
Well, I think they are the key players here in the market, and their opinion is decisive for investors to invest or not to invest. And for instance, to say that the EU bond is an attractive financial product because we have AAA, we have very attractive yields, it's safe, therefore it's sustainable, it's successful, it contributes to a diversification of a portfolio. So if this message is passed by the key responsible institutions of India, it's certainly extremely supportive and conducive.
Speaking to you about the India-EU FTA talks, which have been on for some time, what do you think is the progress right now, and where are we really headed in terms of concluding this deal?
Well, such negotiations are, by definition, very complex one, and that's why it takes time. But I think we have now an excellent opportunity, because in India, but also in Europe, a new parliamentary cycle has just started for another 5 years. There's a strong commitment of Prime Minister Modi, Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. It's always important that there's also a top-down injection of energy, and that's why I'm deeply convinced that in particular the next EU-Indian summit in most likely the first half of next year will be again a very important point for taking stock about the negotiations. What we are aiming is to have a very comprehensive free trade agreement, because we are talking about a market, a potential joint market of 2 billion people.
I'd also like to ask you about EU presence in India right now, in terms of the number of companies present, the kind of investments, job creation, and areas which you would be most interested in as far as the Indian economy goes.
No, in general, one could say already today around 6,000 European companies are active in India. We provide 2 million jobs and indirectly 5 million jobs. This is not nothing, but indeed more could be done. And if I look, for instance, at the investments in Brazil, it's 3 times more, China 2 times more, having in mind the potential of India. Also, we are the biggest trading partner already, and also the biggest foreign direct investor. There is certainly space for improvement.
Right. In terms of job creation, what are the kind of opportunities that you see are there between EU and India right now, and what could happen in the next few years, because this is a priority for the Indian government?
Well, I think one very important area where we are also very much aligned in our efforts is the actions and measures against climate change. For us, the Europeans, the financing of the green transition is very important. That's why we have committed ourselves to spend around 1/3 of our budget, which is altogether 2 trillions for 7 years, to finance the green transition. And by the way, that is also the reason why we are issuing EU green bonds. Currently, we have already issued around 65 billion EU green bonds, and the goal is around 200 billion EU green bonds. And this is about financing green technology, green business. And I think here we share the same interests. And it's not by chance that very recently the European Investment Bank provided a 1 billion euro loan to India for precisely the setup of a blue hydrogen plant, which is in particular providing hydrogen, for instance, for the steel industry. But we are doing also something in water purification, water treatment, underground lines, smart cities, everything which is extremely important for India, and in India for, so to say, the improvement of the environment, reduction of CO2 emissions.